Hi, it's Chris with Implied Music. When you need to expand a melodic idea or rhythmic or harmonic phrase into a whole piece, what do you do? Last week we were talking about accumulation, and I played a piano piece that really required me to perform it with considerable discipline. But that's not the only way to skin the cat. We can use looping repeated regions and mute notes and then gradually unmute them to expand this idea. Accumulation is the gradual layering and unfolding of a melodic or harmonic phrase. Let's look at a piece that I made this morning that uses the idea. Well, accumulation is part of the minimalist school, and it takes a simple idea, might be dense, but still fairly simple, repeats it, pulls elements out, brings them back in again. It's a lot like any kind of progressive electronica. If you've done any producing like that, you'll understand it. I was introduced to it by the composer Steve Reich. And Music for 18 Musicians is an excellent example of it. And if you've never heard the piece, stop watching this video and go listen to it. There's a couple of beautiful performances. The original one with the original ensemble from the late 70s is a cherished gift to us all. But hey, listen to this piece that I did, and we'll break it down. I'm going to just stream it in the edit window, and you'll be able to see the entire phrase, and then quickly it'll drop out, and we'll get to muted notes. You'll see the muted notes compared to the notes that are playing. I might talk a little bit while it's playing. It's about a minute and a half long. That's the basic phrase, doubled with vibraphone. And then now we're going to start unmuting notes. And now we offset the vibraphone by a beat. Gradually unmuting more and more notes. And then we offset the vibraphone by another beat. We're phasing as well as accumulating. And because I needed a change, we went from minor to major. Since the piece is short, let's drop back to the minimal version. What makes that tick? Let's break it down. Well, you undoubtedly heard the instrumentation. There's only 4 instruments. We've got marimba, which states the original theme, vibraphone, which just duplicates it. It's at an octave, but it's essentially a unison phrase. Spiccato strings just playing basically it's a double bass just going whoomp. And of course you heard the shaker, and that's an old minimalist trick just to keep a pulse going. We're not even going to talk about the shaker because it's just on eighth notes. But here's the phrase. Here's the original phrase. And as you can see, its root note, D, just expands outward in a kind of a sort of a figured arpeggio. That's it, right? Now, that combination of notes, that's D, A, C, going up. And then we have the 9th E, the minor third, and then the Dorian tone, which is the B. So I guess we could say it's D Dorian. And it lands on the 11th. This is a complicated phrase that uses all of the notes of the D Dorian mode. And because it does, as the accumulation begins to stack up, as the vibraphone gets out of phase and we hear more and more notes rhythmically rubbing against each other, at any given moment, we're hearing a lot of the notes of the D Dorian mode. And this is why I call this technique modal saturation. Let's hop forward to this section here, and you'll see the vibraphone and the marimba together. And as you can see, there's a considerable amount of, like, I guess you could just call it harmonization going on, right? And then my trick, and if you want to call it a trick, was to make the switch from minor to major. And that's a beautiful moment. I really love this sound. Listen to the F naturals and the C naturals become F sharps and C sharps. Here it comes. It's a simple trick. And how do I pull it off? Well, aside from just using the technology of muting notes, I'm going to use the technology of constraining things to a scale in Logic and probably in most DAWs. You have the option of selecting a handful of notes, going over to the left-hand panel and using this thing here called Scale Quantize. I've quantized those notes to the D major scale. And then I just released us from the D major scale back into the minor sound for the end of the piece. So as it goes forward, we hear a change. See if you can pick it up. There's the major, so pretty. Back to the minor and unison again. So it comes in so strong. The ideas behind accumulation are simple, but the results can be pretty sophisticated. You wind up kind of almost accidentally with resultant melodies that interact with each other to create kind of new ideas, new rhythmic ideas and new melodic ideas. And those ideas sometimes are not exactly what you'd planned. This is not necessarily a bad thing. I'm just using technology. I mean, in terms of performing in things, I performed in the first marimba phrase, a couple of measures, and just did a lot of copy and pasting, slipping a couple of beats. I just grabbed the chunks and moved it over. If you look right here, for instance, you can see a little space. That little space is because I grabbed this region and just moved it over again. Copying and pasting again and again, muting notes again and again. All right, let's listen to it one last time. D minor 11, a full saturated Dorian sound, and then unison, strong, forceful, almost aggressive, and then a little more laid back, but still dancey, right? We're at 142 beats a minute. Every time I cycled through a new phrase, I just brought in a couple of more notes. And once everything got back in, offset now, out of phase, I pushed it even further to get a slightly different resultant melody. And then major. And then drop back down again. We're just trying to wrap it up now. Listen to Steve Reich's Music for 18 Musicians. Try this on your own. It doesn't have to be tonal resources. You could do this with rhythm. I like using tuned percussion like marimba, xylophones, vibraphones in this case, because the notes don't last very long and you can really hear the interactions of the parts. Well, I hope this has been useful. like and subscribe to this video. Ding the bell. You'll be notified when I do more. And I'll see you next time.